It's funny. A couple days ago, I really didn't think the Jets would have much of an eventful trade deadline, as the NFL deadline usually doesn't have crazy trades like the MLB or the NBA or even the NHL trade deadline. But boy, was I wrong. The New York Jets make two massive, shocking, and stunning moves here today ahead of the NFL trade deadline. I'll break it all down, but before we do so, welcome back everybody to the Turn Up the Jets YouTube channel. As always, Joe Scarter, your host. Please subscribe to the channel if you've not already liked the video. If you've actually liked it, you can also follow me on social media platforms such as on X and on Instagram at Turn Up the Jets, all one word. Appreciate the support. I mean, holy shit. Where do I even start? I mean, we were talking that Breece Hall, right? The guy who has been in trade talks dated back to last year. He is currently still a New York Jet. Jermaine Johnson is still currently a New York Jet. Quincy Williams is still currently a New York Jet. Alan freaking Lazard is still currently a New York Jet. Out of the blue, the Jets make two massive trades in two blue chip guys in their defense in Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. Let's break it down. We get the news early this afternoon. I see it. I go to my knees. The New York Jets from Ian Rappaport have traded Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts. My first reaction is obviously, A, who the hell we got, but more so like, why did they extend him if they were going to trade him 8 games in? So at first, it's a head scratcher because you have a generational talent here at corner. This is a first-time, 2-time All-Pro in his first 2 years, a Defensive Rookie of the Year, multiple-time Pro Bowler, all the accolades you can possibly get. Of course, people knock him because of his tackling. I feel like his tackling has been better, but it could even get better than that. The lack of interceptions has been concerning, but you could argue because he's able to shut down those guys and he just doesn't get thrown to like other corners do, because you can call him a lockdown guy. But been on and off the field with injuries, has battled concussion, did not play a couple weeks back against the Cincinnati Bengals. So you get that news and you go, what? Like, this was the name that I was absolutely shocked about because he wasn't in any trade talks. Why would he be? Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, this new regime, not Joe Douglas, this new regime made him the highest paid cornerback in all of the league before they even started training camp. Like, I totally get it. These guys want their guys and they want to get the Joe Douglas guys out of here unless they're great players. And that's what Muji said. They're going to keep their own if they can, and they're going to keep their own if they're great players. And we thought automatically Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson makes sense. But that's what shocked me, that 8 games in after this regime signed him for a big, massive contract, they step back and go and trade him. Why? It's because they got to feel like they got an offer that they couldn't refuse. And the New York Jets, in exchange for the former All-Pro corner Sauce Gardner, got a 2026 first-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick, and former second-round pick in the 2024 draft, wide receiver Adonai Mitchell from the Indianapolis Colts. An absolutely blockbuster of a deal, as the Jets land 2 first-rounders and a young 23-year-old wide receiver who literally just turned 23 in October out of Texas, and A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell has not really gotten the chance to really prove himself, with a crowded wide receiver room in Indy with Pittman, Pierce, Josh Downs, and of course the infamous play that he's known for was a couple weeks back in their first loss of the season with the Rams, while he ran for a so-called touchdown and then pulled a Malachi Corley and threw the ball before he got into Pater, and that ultimately was turned over. The ball got turned over, and it was the Rams' ball, no touchdown. So, after that, AD just didn't really get much time. It was a stupid mistake, and this is a kid who obviously has talent. He was drafted in the 2nd round last year. So you get 2 premium picks and Mitchell for Sauce Gardner, and the Colts also take basically his contract in their books. So the Jets, already they paid him what they owed him, and the Colts are taking over and are now paying that contract. And obviously we talked about it way before when I liked the move of signing Sauce Gardner. It was that the money doesn't go into play until 2026. So they're going to continue to get, Sauce cheap here. And then it's one more year, I believe. And then after, it might be after 2026. Quote me if I'm wrong there. But even still, the Colts will get him cheap, and then we'll have to pay him that big deal that the New York Jets and Muji did a couple months back. So this was a stunner, man. Like, I was absolutely shocked that the Jets went in and traded Sauce Gardner. And I needed a few hours because I know people were livid. There's some people that were happy because people were, on the, basically the side that Sauce Gardner was overrated. He couldn't tackle. He didn't turn the ball over. He was only, he had a cool name, and that's why people thought he was good. He's a PI merchant. I mean, he got so much hate, and I've always been the guy to defend Sauce Gardner, thinking he was a really good player. I remember I was there week 1, and I saw it live, watching him move around, covering DK, and he was unbelievable. And then, of course, the next week wasn't very good. Keon Coleman had his way with him. I think he's been very up and down. Tampa wasn't very good. So it's been like an up and down year for him. It was last year too, and I get it this year. It's a new defense, and it's just new everything for him. So maybe the Jets didn't think he was a scheme fit at the end of the day, even though they signed him. They thought he would be better in terms of a scheme fit. He's been in and out of the lineup, as I mentioned earlier. Didn't play against the Bengals with concussion. And I even feel like last year, like, he's gotten banged up quite a few times, but this is still a young premium player. And the Colts got a really good one. The Colts are 7-2. And they're obviously trying to compete for a Super Bowl. Like, I think right now you can say, even though they lost last week against Pittsburgh, this is a really good Colts team. A good offensive line, a great run game, good enough wide receivers. Jones has everything he needs. And then you add to the defense, in which has been good, but they've been really banged up and limited at the corner position, and they go get a guy like Sauce Gardner. So good for the Colts, but let me be honest here. Was I happy right away when I saw they traded Sauce Gardner? No. I mean, you need good players to win, right? But the Jets are 1-7, and it's frustrating because I think the Jets have more talent than the 1-7 record shows. And you could definitely argue that the coaching has a big factor why the Jets were 1-7, because they've lost so many close games, and games that, they maybe should have won, but there was a couple dumb mistakes that could have been avoided, and maybe they do win the game. But the Jets are 1-7. And I think 2 first-rounders is an absolute haul for a defensive back in this league. It was almost as much as the Dallas Cowboys got for Micah Parsons. And defensive end is a way more premium position than corner. And I don't think Sauce is on the level of a Surtain. I really don't. I still would definitely say that Sauce is a top 5 corner for sure. But the fact that they got 2 first rounders and almost like a project at wide receiver, like, we haven't seen a lot of AD yet. AD's only been in the league for a year and a half. And this was a kid who came up and was a high prospect coming out of Texas last year, was a really, really good college player. He just hadn't really broke the surface in the NFL. And, that play, as I mentioned earlier with the Rams, definitely didn't do him any good. And it kind of just faded him out of the lineup. But let's face it, like, he's going to be the number 2 receiver here on out. He's going to get plenty of reps, and they added Mechie, and what they're doing with that wide receiver position, I respect it. It's 2 guys who were drafted in the 2nd round, and they're hoping they could develop, and 2 guys that really hadn't given a chance because they've been in crowded receiver rooms and maybe made mistakes, and it could work on their game. Mitchell, I'm not saying is a shoo-in, but the fact that they got him thrown into as well is pretty insane. Like, 2 first-round picks. And yes, people are saying right now the Colts pick is the 32nd pick right now, because they do technically have the best record in the NFL. Listen, the Colts aren't winning the Super Bowl, and I'm pretty confident on that, just to see what I saw last week. Daniel Jones had 5 turnovers. It was a complete mess. They weren't able to establish the run. I think the Colts are a good team, but I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to be a Super Bowl winning team. I expect maybe like 24, 25, 26, something in the lines of that. And guess what? In the NFL draft, you're still going to get a really good player there, as long as they're a first-round pick. And, of course, you got to hit on these picks. That's the main thing, and that's why people are pissed off, because you trade Sauce Gardner, who's already a proven player and all-pro. You know what he's got. You have to hit on these picks for this trade to look good. But in hindsight, 2 first-round picks is 2 first-round picks. And wherever they're picking this year, you're still going to get an early pick, because the Jets are going to be a top 4 pick, without a question. I mean, they were even going to do it before, but now you lose Sauce and Quinnen, as we obviously will get into that trade too. They're, of course, going to be a top of the line pick with their pick, and they're still going to get Indianapolis pick. So you're still going to have 2 premium picks in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft. And not to mention, you also get a 2027 pick in the first round. And are we really sold that the Colts have found their guy for the future in Daniel Jones? This was really similar to the Jamal Adams trade. Remember, a couple years back, it's different though, because Sauce signed and he wanted to stay, but Jamal Adams wanted to leave because they wouldn't sign him. And then you say, wow, they traded him. But then you look and go, holy crap, they got 2 first-round picks. Guess what? They got a late pick in that 2021 draft. They were able to trade it with another pick and trade up to get AVT. I believe they swapped with the Minnesota Vikings. So they get AVT. The next year, we didn't think this was going to be a good pick either, right? Because the Seahawks were good. They had Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, it's his first year that he really regresses and deteriorates, and the Seahawks stink, and that pick turns into number 10 overall. So the Jets have 2 top 10 picks, and hey, they end up getting a guy named Garrett Wilson because of it. And that was the draft that they had 4th and took Sauce and then took Garrett at 10. So, like, let's not say that Daniel Jones, because he's had 9 games of success, and of course I mentioned he didn't have success last week. Let's not say that this is going to sustain and he's going to be the future and like the Colts are going to be really good. The Colts are smart right now to do this because like they know, like who knows what the future holds with Jones, but if he's doing this well, we might as well go all in and see what we can do. So I respect it in an Indianapolis standpoint. Like they're going all in. This is an all in move because that pick next year could very well be a solid pick for the Jets if Jones isn't the solidified answer at quarterback. So that's where I like it for the New York Jets, because I don't know if they're going to be 7-2 again next year and be a top of the division. Like they're probably going to be playing a first place schedule if they keep it up. I mean, Jacksonville's only 2 games behind them, but I don't think Jacksonville's going to catch them and win that division. Like especially now you get Sauce. I think Indianapolis should win that division. And I think they will. Of course, Jets fans don't want them to, and Jets fans will love to root against the Colts now, even though it's bittersweet because you want to see Sauce succeed because we love Sauce. I mean, I love Sauce. I thought he was a fantastic player. He was a fantastic Jet. He was a fantastic guy. Like nothing to hate on Sauce. I know he got that weird hate from people on social media and even from Jets fans. Like there were a lot of Jets fans that didn't really think Sauce was very good. But, you know, it is what it is. They trade him. I didn't feel great about it until I saw the return because, like, at this point, you got to do what you got to do here. Like, 2 first-round picks is a lot, and the Jets will have a chance to get 2 very good players, but it doesn't matter because Muji and Glenn have to get it right. And that's another thing. That's the other big story other than trading 2 superstars. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji aren't going anywhere, even if they go 1-16. Like, that's the commitment that Woody Johnson has. They at least have 2 years, and I would argue 3, because in 2027, they're going to have 3 first-round picks. Woody Johnson and company don't let this regime trade Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams and really hoard all these first-round draft picks if they don't trust them and they don't believe for them to be the ones to draft those players at those picks. Like, Muji and Glenn aren't going anywhere. Simple. It doesn't matter how many games they win now. So that could be one less thing to talk about because they're not going anywhere. And it doesn't matter because they wouldn't be allowed to make these types of moves if they were just going to get fired next year. It wouldn't make any sense. The Jets are putting full trust on this regime. They're giving them a time date. Like I would say they're giving them at least 3 years to see what they can do with this thing, to see what they can do with their guys, their draft picks, and they are believing this regime to make the right draft picks, which is crazy because they're 1-7, and I don't think anyone would trust them to make the right picks, but that's reality. That's it. I mean, I think Muji did a great job in terms of value. I mean, he got 2 first-round picks in a wide receiver at 23 for defensive back. And yeah, it's a great defensive back. He's a top 5 guy, but essentially you don't have to pay him now. and you have all these premium picks here. And the Jets do have a pretty solid corner room. I mean, Brandon Stevens has played a lot better. AZ Thomas, you'll be seeing him. He'll be a starting corner now. I thought he fared well other than that T. Higgins play, his first start in the NFL. He's going to be a starter. And then Jarvis Brownlee, who's done nothing but impress, he's going to be the nickel starter. So, like, the Jets are still going to have three solid corners who could be physical, exciting, and they're all fairly pretty young. So I guess we'll have to see. But a shocking move that I just had no idea what was going to happen. And then a couple hours later, it wasn't over. Quinnen Williams, the former 2019 third overall pick for the New York Jets, he was the longest tenured New York Jet. He goes to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 2027 first rounder, a 2026 second rounder, as well as defensive tackle Maisie Smith, who Maisie Smith was their first round pick in 2023 out of Michigan. So another big haul here. Quinnen Williams, yes, 2 years in his contract, but he's an older player, older than Sauce, not older, but older than Sauce, at least 27 years old. He still had 2 more years in the books. The Jets will obviously get rid of that. I think most of the guarantee is almost paid, so the Jets won't be paying Quinnen Williams anymore. And also the 2027 pick, that was the main thing. Of course, they traded Micah Parsons for 2 first-round picks with Green Bay. Green Bay is a really good team. The 2027 pick, they're going to get the better pick out of the two. So if Green Bay is worse than Dallas in 2027, the Jets get their first-round pick, vice versa. If Dallas is worse, they get their first-round pick. So I like that incentive there for the Jets. So either way, they're going to get the best first pick that Dallas owns, and then they will have their second-round pick this year. And Dallas is 3-5-1. I mean, they're kind of throwing the dart at the board right now. They just got smoked by Jacoby Brissett in the Cardinals. It was 27-17, but it was, they were in control. It was 27-10, and Dallas kind of scored a garbage touchdown. So, like, they just lost at home against Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals, who had lost, 6 consecutive games. So, I mean, that might not be a great pick. Like, you're looking at 4 top 48, top 50 picks this year, next year in the 2026. And then in 2027, you have 3 first-round picks. And, this is what we're looking at here for the Jets. We'll move that. This is what you're looking at for the next 2 years. 2 firsts, 2 seconds in 2026, and then 2027, they got 3 firsts. And of course, it says Dallas, but it's going to be either Green Bay or Dallas. Whatever pick is better, the Jets will get. I mean, this trade made a little more sense. I mean, Quinnen Williams was my favorite player on the Jets. So it stinks. And I didn't think he was going to get traded. And I thought the only way he was going to get traded is if they really got a lot for him. And that was a first-round pick. And they got more than I expected. A first, a second, and a player who is still young. Smith is 24. I know he struggled in Dallas, but this is still a former first-round pick 2 years removed. So they've gotten, these 4 picks, 3 first and a second, and then 2 young players at 23 and 24 who were high picks the last 2 drafts for Sauce and Quinnen. And, it makes a little more sense to trade Quinnen here because he only has 2 more years in his contract. He wasn't from the new regime, even though, with the Sauce thing, it's just weird, but like he wasn't signed by the new regime, even though they kind of defeated the purpose, but you get my point. And it felt like he was unhappy. That's what I've heard. Connor Hughes, Connor Hughes, Investment NY, did say that he had heard from multiple sources that it was quietly, so shout out to Quinnen, but like, he had requested a trade multiple times this year. So I don't think him in the new regime gelled. I think it all started from, that tweet once they got rid of Aaron Rodgers that, like, he was saying, I can't believe we're doing another rebuild or something in the lines of that. Him and Glenn talked. It sounded like they cleared it up. But I don't think that was the case. I think, they had a lot of conversations. It didn't seem like they agreed on a lot of things, and it just didn't seem like Quinnen really gelled and was happy with that new regime. And being the longest tenured Jet, I mean, he has done nothing but lose, but has done nothing but impress. That great all-pro season in 2022, he was just amazing when he had, 10-plus sacks. He was really, really good. But Quinnen hadn't had a season like that since. And, since he got that big contract, he's a great player, but the sacks weren't there. Like, you pay a guy, and I know he's an interior lineman, but like, you paid the guy who got 10.5 sacks. And unfortunately, he hadn't met that mark since. And this year, he's played solid. I mean, Quinnen's a great player. And I know a lot of people like to say he's overrated. And I don't necessarily agree with that. But the fact that they were able to get a 1, a 2, and a player, I think that was, a good move for them. They got what he was worth. My thing was, if they were going to trade him for a second round pick, I would be out of my damn mind. Like, that's what I thought was going to happen. Like, that's what it sounded like. People were saying, oh, Quinnen might get traded, and it was second round pick. I mean, no way he was worth just a second. I do think Dallas paid his worth. It might paid him a little more than his worth, since they gave him a first, a second, and a player. I really didn't expect that haul. I'm very heartbroken that Quinnen is gone. I'm heartbroken that both of these guys are gone. All Jets fans are. I mean, it sucks. It sucks that we got to this point, because we felt like we were finally keeping our guys with Garrett and Quinnen and Sauce, and now suddenly 2 out of the 3 are gone. Good news is Garrett Wilson seems to be untouchable, because Hughes again talked to a team that reached out, a representative of a different team that reached out to the Jets after they traded Sauce, because they felt like they're trading Sauce, they're probably trading everyone, and that was not the case. No conversations, progressed at all, and they basically said that Wilson is untouchable. So at least Garrett Wilson is untouchable, and that was another thing that people said that you should trade him. I mean, if you're going to this way of stacking up these first rounders, obviously eyeing a franchise quarterback, whether it's in 2026 or very well might be 2027 now, because they have so many picks in the first in that draft. Unless they really like someone in this draft, they still have 2, but they could trade the 2027, move up, and get their guy. Either way, you want them to have a number 1 receiver in Garrett Wilson. Sam Darnold didn't have it. Zach Wilson didn't have it his rookie year. Garrett Wilson wasn't really established as that number 1 in 2022, as he was a rookie himself. So Wilson is an established wide receiver 1 now. So I think that is you got to keep him. With Sauce and Quinnen, I'm not saying they're replaceable, but you're going to have to draft their replacements and hope you hit on the picks. So even with Quinnen, like, I didn't think he was going to get dealt. I was really hoping he wasn't. I joked that I was like, I'm done if Quinnen Williams gets traded. Just, he's my favorite player on the team, or was. And, I lose 2 jerseys today. I have 2 autographed cards of Sauce and Quinnen. So I lose a lot of memorabilia there. Obviously the autographs, keep those forever, but the jersey's rough. Probably will never wear those again. So that's sad. But like, if it was a second round pick, I'd be set, as I mentioned. But the fact that they got what they got, as sad as I am, I'm not mad. That's the difference. Like, I know people have their opinions. Like, not everyone's going to be happy about it. There's probably a ton of people pissed off about the trades, and I don't blame them. But like, for me, it's hard to say that, like, you got to keep all these guys when you're 1-7. Like, they've never won with Sauce. They've never won with Quinnen. And like, this is something that a regime has not done. Like, just completely clear the house and get all these first round picks. Like, Douglas did it to an extent, but like, the Jets are really going hard at this, saving money. They now are going to have money to spend the next couple off seasons. They have all these picks. They have ammunition, whether they want to make moves in the draft this year or the next. So it's going to be interesting, but it's also going to suck, because the Jets we already knew the Jets were going to suck for the rest of this year. They're probably going to suck all of next year, and this regime's going to get a shot. I mean, this regime won't go anywhere, I think, until 2027. Like, even if they're bad next year, like, I think they're still going to have their jobs, because, ownership allowed them to trade 2 of their best players for picks in that draft. So why in the world would you let those guys, or let that regime and Muji and Glenn, because obviously it was a mix of both of those guys making these decisions. Why would you allow them to make those type of moves if you're just going to say, hey, see ya, we're firing you? It's not going to happen. So we're stuck with the regime, whether you like them or not. I think everybody in Jets Nation is cheering for these guys. I mean, heck, you can't be against them. I mean, everyone wants Aaron Glenn to succeed. It hasn't happened yet. In the media, shit is already starting up again. I'm going back and forth with I think it was Canzaro and Rich Lamini about the quarterbacks, not naming the quarterback this week against the Browns this upcoming Sunday. Like, he's 1-7. It's kind of hard. It's like, yeah, it's funny, but at the same time, keep on winning, because if you don't win, you look like an idiot. He got the pass last week because they did win. Everybody like is rooting for Aaron Glenn, so like we don't want him to fail, but I mean he has to show us something. They're 1-7. They've been a poorly coached team, so it's just frustrating that the regime is getting this much trust, which could end in absolute disaster. And then you're looking back and you're saying, hey, remember they traded Sauce and Quinnen for all these picks, and all these guys have sucked. That's the fear. That's the fear. Like, oh, you could have just kept Quinnen and Sauce and paid them, their respected amounts because they're great players. But it's always hard when you get this many picks. And yeah, like the two players they got are projects, but high picks and young at age. But with the picks that they got, the 4 picks, I mean, you're not going to know who won this trade until those guys are drafted and until those guys show what they're worth. So it's so hard to say, oh, this is a terrible trade. This trade could very well be a great trade. And for Jamal Adams, it ended up being a great trade. Unfortunately, it didn't end up resulting in wins. But with this, like, we're not going to know if this is a good trade until we see the players and to see if this regime is actually capable to develop these draft picks that they are drafting. Because, I mean, Darren Muji's never drafted anybody in his life. So, well, of course, he drafted this year, but you know what I mean? Like, this is going to be his draft. Like, these are his picks. He traded for these picks. His team earned that pick. So it's a little different than what it was in 2025. And while they just had the 7th round pick because that's what the team did last year. Like, this is your team. Your team earned that pick. Your team also traded for that Indianapolis pick. So now make the picks, get those picks right. Because you look at his draft right now. I mean, I think Membu looks like a very solid right tackle. I think that looks like a good pick. And now AZ Thomas is going to be the starting corner who you drafted in the 3rd round. So Mason Taylor looks like a very nice player. So you look at those top couple picks, Malachi Moore. I mean, he's probably going to be the starting safety. So all these guys are going to be starters that he drafted. So right away, it's hard to evaluate those guys. I think Membu and Taylor are really trending towards really good players. But I mean, they've only played 8 games, so it's hard to even evaluate those guys. But like, so far, it looks solid. But you need to build off that, and now you have your picks next year and the year after. So show us something, because it's frustrating. Like, we've been rebuilding for 15 years, and it just sucks that at the combine, Glenn says, we're not rebuilding. We're here to win now. Well, not anymore. They're 1-7. You just trade your 2 best players in the deadline. 2 of them you really didn't expect to do. Quinnen Williams, kind of. Sauce Gardner was an absolute shocker. I still can't believe they traded him, but they did. They got a lot. In hindsight, they got a lot. But now you got to make the right picks. It's hard to judge whether you win or lose a trade. Everyone's going to be – I don't think anyone should be happy that they traded these guys. Like, but you get what they're trying to do. So I'm sure we'll talk plenty more about this throughout the week. Absolutely insane stuff. I cannot believe that this went down today. We will be obviously previewing the Poop Bowl and the Jets Browns. I already got my buddies calling it the Poop Bowl. It is indeed Jets Browns, but the Jets show us something. You just trade your 2 best players. You're off the bye week. The Jets historically horrendous off the bye week, especially with Salah and Adam Gase. They just, and even Bowles. I mean, dating all the way back the last 9-10 years, a very poor team after the bye week. Show us something, Jets. Try to get 2 in a row going into Thursday night against New England. Give us something to smile about, because, I think Jets fans are really on edge. I think there's a split feeling whether, you get it, you feel good, or you're just pissed off. You can't believe it. It's like you can't believe it got to this point, but it did. I mean, this team hasn't made the playoffs in 15 years, so we can't sit here and be surprised anymore with this just dysfunctional organization that all starts off with their idiotic owner in Woody Johnson. But anyway, appreciate everybody watching the video. As always, like the video. If you've actually liked it, please subscribe to the channel. If you have not already, you could also follow me on social media platforms such as X and on Instagram at TurboJets, all one word. I post New York Jets weekly content. Look out for the next video. Appreciate you. See ya.